T.J. Hooker returns next week at this time. Now a special presentation.
Please support the Word Balloon podcast by going to patreon.com/wordballoon. Become a part of the League of Word Balloon listeners. That's patreon.com/wordballoon. Welcome back, everybody. It's time again for Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here with one of my good friends. It's always good to talk to him, whether it's trivia or about comics in general. It's time to welcome Fred Van Lente back to Word Balloon. Good to see you, buddy.
Hey, John. Great to see you. Thanks for having me on again.
As always, my man. No, it's a pleasure, dude. I saw one of your recent collaborators, or regular collaborators, I should say, Ryan Dunleavy at C2E2. We had a fantastic dinner.
I heard. Sounds like you guys all had a great time.
So I've taken you and Crystal, haven't I, to Miller's Pub?
You've taken me to Miller's Pub.
Okay, yeah.
Is it under the L? I remember that correctly?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't remember if Crystal came with us or not, but yeah. It's one of my favorite, Chicago hangouts. So, yeah, there you go.
Maybe it was. I think we went to Cake, right? With the
either that and also maybe the Art Institute when the
when the Lichtenstein retrospective.
Lichtenstein, yeah. All right, Absolutely. There you go. Yeah, it was a full day for us. Absolutely, man. Very, very cool. Well, Fred
to Chicago.
I loved it, man. But happy to have you on to talk about this new giant sci-fi epic that you're just getting started here. The Future Is.
That's right.
Tell me, first of all, tell me about the publisher, because really, in a lot of ways, this story is kind of tied to what the publisher's parent company does, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very unique project, but one I think folks on multiple ends of the spectrum will find really interesting. So the company I'm working for, the company that publishes is Rekka, spell it backwards, it's hacker, is owned by a company called Black Hills Information Systems, which is a cybersecurity company out in South Dakota, hence Black Hills. And they do a lot of outreach and they're known for being very community forward and community friendly. And they mostly do white hat hacking. And what is that? For those of you who don't know, white hat hacking is when you are not a criminal or a bad guy, but you are working to prevent unlawful intrusions to any, computer system you can possibly imagine. And they do all sorts of different outreach programs. Like they have like a card game called Backdoors and Breaches, which is sort of a combination of like D&D and Magic the Gathering, but with like, cybersecurity. They do a lot of like what they call capture the flag challenges, which is basically where you have a team of attackers and defenders, hackers, and you're trying to steal something from the one network while the other team is trying to prevent you from doing that. So hence
interesting.
That, right?
Wow.
So one of the guys who works at that company is a guy, Jason Blanchard, who has had a number of jobs people listening to this podcast will be familiar with. He's probably best known in the comics community as he owned a comic book shop / coffee house / bar called A Comic Shop in Florida, which won I think it was shortlisted for the Eisner for the Spirit of Retailing Award.
Yeah.
And he ended up moving on. He worked at Diamond. Pour one out for Diamond. Or don't, depending on what your feeling of Diamond is. Anyway, he ran Free Comic Day for a little bit. Worked for DC briefly. And wound up at the marketing head for this company, Black Hills Information Security. And he went to John Strand, the co-owner, and said, or co-founder, and said, hey, I kind of want to do comics, but not like the kind of, crappy corporate comics that you're used to seeing from companies when they want to make a comic. It's always, Captain Firewall, or some dumb, it's always some dumb 4-page superhero thing, right? Where it's like,
Yes.
never fear, citizen. I will protect your VPN. Throwing out acronyms.
I'm hip. No, I get it.
A lot of
Radio
people
Shack.
a lot of people in InfoSec are from like ex-military, so they love acronyms. And so Jason reached out, put a team together, and through Adam Freeman, who's head of Prana Market Solutions, who's Direct Market Solutions, who's working with the company, he went out and got me because we worked together at Valiant. And we created this comic called The Future Is. They liked the first few issues of what I did so much, they said, we're going to commit, and this really blew my mind, we are going to commit to 60 issues. You heard that, right? This is a 5-year long series that we have already plotted out in writers' rooms. And it's extremely exciting. And Siri, for some reason, is reacting to this. I thought I turned you off, phone. See, John, they're trying to hack the podcast, John.
The robots
Where
are
is
listening.
Captain Firewall?
Indeed. We look at our eyes, our lonely lives look towards you. Exactly. Jesus.
What I love is that you can't ask Siri, turn off.
Okay, Fred.
No.
Do it. I for a while I had Siri calling me Batman, and there was nothing more satisfying than hearing, I'm sorry, I can't do that for you, Batman. And I'm like, yeah, that's all right. That's all right.
There's an outfield on the Mets called Jose Siri. So every time he does anything, I guess he's been on the injured list for some time. Otherwise, I think he'd be having phones going off all over the country. But and what's even cooler is that I just got back from a 1 week. I think we had so many stops I kind of lost track. 6-stop tour. We visited 5 states. We started at Third Eye in Annapolis, which is a fantastic store, and where we basically had our launch, which was extremely well attended. And this sort of shows you how these folks are thinking. Down the street from, not literally down the street, but very nearby to Third Eye is Fort Meade, where the NSA is headquartered. So with a lot of cybersecurity professionals there. So we had a massive turnout. It was the first look tour because technically this first issue was not even out until May 30th.
I was going to ask Fred, okay, because really you sent me a lot of PDFs here.
Yeah.
But go on.
Yeah, well, this is what happens when you have a 60-year plan.
That's fine. Good.
They're very adamant that you were going to get a new issue of The Future Is once a month for 5 years.
Wow.
Hell or high water. I think that there'd have to be the heat death of the universe is the only thing that's going to stop this comic from coming out.
Okay. And forgive me, because you sent me a big graphic novel.
Yes.
Of it. And then also you said, okay, so wow.
So we're
so is that what's coming out at the end of May? Is this first graphic novel?
For those of you watching this on video, I am holding it in my hands. So,
Stand
John,
by.
what I sent you was that was kickstarted last year. So what I am holding in my hands, and I took this from my own signing, so I could have my own copy. My signature got really smudged, and I didn't want to give that to the people.
Sure.
So what this is a 120-page first issue. I'm Gen X. I remember when first issues were like double size. This is a quadruple sized first issue.
Yeah.
Lovely graphic novel. All comics.
Yes.
And it retails for the low price of $13.37.
Beautiful. That's great, Fred. Jesus.
And you're probably wondering, well, that's a strange price.
Yes.
$13.37 is hacker slang for elite. Turned upside down on a calculator, which is short for elite.
Okay.
So it's some hacker humor going on here. So we are, and so we did this, and don't worry, we'll talk about the actual content of the book later.
Oh, yeah, and listen, great story and great art. But yes, continue, please.
That's right. You read it. Thank you.
I did. 100%. I read it, Fred. Come on.
I would have. You could journalist. Do you do your research?
Got to do that, man. Absolutely. I want to serve you right.
So we started in Annapolis and had an amazing, and Steve and Trudy treat people great at Third Eye. And Third Eye is just like, if you've not been to Third Eye, let me geek out about Third Eye for a second. Third Eye is the biggest thing there is the comic shop. It's like the size of a warehouse. It's huge. It's got manga. It's got young adult comics. It's got children's section. It's like a comic book store came from the future, where the world had been taken over by comics geeks. And then next to it is a gaming store with tabletop games, Dungeons and Dragons, card games. They have a whole section for like experimental games, like physics and chemistry and stuff. And then next to that, they have this massive record store.
Wow.
So it's like,
retro vinyl.
Vinyl. It's mostly vinyl. Like literally, it's a record store, right?
Yeah.
But they also have band merch. In that, they have a lot of like occult books and sort of subversive books and novels. So there's
excellent.
It's a bit of a combo record. But it's the staff is all incredible. We had a line out the door. It was a fantastic mixture of old school comics folks and people from the NSA.
That's great.
Because you could tell they were from the NSA because we'd say, "Where do you work?" and they'd say, "Shut up." And okay, say no more.
You don't need to know. Exactly.
One guy who's not from the NSA brought the editor in this book is Joe Keating, and he also is fantastic, and he was on the tour as well. And some guy he did a very beloved image book called Shutter, and one guy brought a whole stack, all 30 issues of Shutter. So that was cool. So we rented a van, right? And so then we piled into the van the next day and drove to Hello Comics, which is a spectacular store in Charlotte, I believe, in Virginia. They're awesome, run by a lovely couple. They're fantastic. Everyone in Virginia go there. And then we piled back into the van, and that's right, we were going to go to Richmond, but we didn't have time because then we had to drove to Cary, North Carolina. Did Ultimate Comics was there. That location was fantastic. More cybersecurity people because the Research Triangle, right, in North Carolina is right there. This was on Thursday. My buddy Christos Gage showed up, who now lives down in the area. I'd not seen him in the dog's
age. That's great. I didn't know Christos moved. Very cool.
Yeah. Next day, piled in the van. This was the grueling one. This was 11 hours of driving. And I told them I will not drive. John, I own a driver's license. I've not driven a car since 2003.
So, Fred, I understand. If I didn't need to drive, I wouldn't. Believe me.
It's for their safety as much as anyone else's. And I told them it was in my contract. I wrote there in crayon myself. Nestled in the Victorian district of Savannah, Georgia, is a lovely store run by this guy Lee, who's fantastic, called Neighborhood Comics.
Okay,
beautifully laid out. Big Millennium Falcon hanging in the room. That's very much like, and because SCAD is there, right?
I was going to say the hometown of SCAD. Absolutely,
yeah, so
man. The Savannah comic. What does SCAD stand for, Fred?
I don't know.
Neither do I. But let's say that again. Great illustration.
I'm going to guess AD means art and design. C stands for college, and S stands for Savannah. So let's just guess it stands for the Savannah College of Art and Design because it's in Savannah, Georgia. Folks, I flew back in from this tour today to appear here in Word Balloon. I'm operating at like 65%.
I'm sorry, Fred. Exactly.
It's all right. It's all right. You said you wanted me on. I was excited. I wanted to come on.
I'm glad you came on. Go on.
And it's great because we get a chance to nerd out on all these fantastic comic shops. So here's the crazy part of the tour. I got to go to Buc-ee's for the first time. We don't have this in the north. Do they have them?
Those mega stores that are Buc-ee's. Yeah, yes, indeed. Yes, like a big truck stop. Again, I know half my audience like, hey, we know what Buc-ee's is. The other half's like, no, tell us about Buc-ee's. But you can literally buy a smoothie, a barbecue sandwich, and jeans at the same tent.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And everything's got the beaver mascot on it, and there's an entire wall of beef jerky. That was the most important thing to me. 40 to 50. Now I'm supposed to be cutting down on my sodium, otherwise I may have partaken of the beef jerky. It was very enticing. So we pile back in the van, John. So that was like we woke up at 8 and we made it to 10. We went to Savannah, we went to Buc-ee's, and we made it to Tampa. Weirdly, two of the Recca employees' their grandparents live in the same retirement home and have never met each other. So we visited them. So this is a bananas trip.
Fantastic.
And we wind up at Tampa. So this is the weird thing. So it wasn't just a comic book tour. We also were in Tampa with something called the B-Sides Tampa, which is B-Sides is a hacker convention. If you've ever seen Silicon Valley, like the conventions they go to on that show, it was just like that, but smaller. And the record guys were like, the signing starts at 8 a.m. And I was like, what? Signing starts at 8 a.m. And I just think these guys are nuts, you see. So the important thing, it's a bit of a cliche, but it is very true that all tech people are the kinds of people who love being told you can't do that. That's crazy. It's impossible. Why are you making a comic book series in the middle of the main distributor collapsing? By the way, future is available exclusively through Lunar Distribution.
Oh, very good. All right. Our dear friends at Lunar. Very good.
It's 60 issues. Are you bananas? But again, this is how these people roll. The first covers are by, obviously you see Jay Lee on the other cover here. Okay, here's another single shot. This is from the inside front cover. Here's what we have on the next few. We've got, who do we have here? We have Mike Huddleston. We have Rob Guillory. We have Jim LaFood. We have Mike Allred. I mean, every cover
outstanding
going on like that. Every cover is a banger. Because they hired comics people. Joe Keating knows everyone in freaking comics. And we have a cover later in the year from someone you will not believe we were able to get a cover out of. And if I told you, they would come through my computer like Videodrome and like murder me. So sure. I'm not going, these are powerful people I'm dealing with, and I don't want to mess with them. But the peach is gorgeous. We got the 600 DPI line art. Joe got the scan on the tour, so banger baller.
Beautiful.
So I was like, yeah, very funny. We're gonna do a signing at 8 a.m. Dude, we signed. Now, granted, this was not we were giving these away to the hackers as a promotional thing, because Recca not just wants to educate people who read comics about cybersecurity. They want to drive cybersecurity folks into the comic stores and create more customers and more fans for comic shops, because let's face it, comic book fans, hackers, we're all nerds.
Hell yeah.
We're all birds of slightly different colored feathers.
Indeed. Yes.
We should be flocking together. John, I signed 300 comics at 8 o'clock in the morning, which was the strangest thing I've ever done. And I've worked in comics for a long time, and I've done a lot of strange things. All of them legal, that I will admit to on this show. Then what do we do, John? We
After 10
piled back in the van. This was Saturday. We piled back in the van, and we drove to a fantastic. All of these comic shops were fantastic. We drove to Blackbird Comics and Coffee, which is, I believe, in Maitland Park, Florida. It's essentially the Orlando area.
Okay.
This place is exactly what it sounds like. It's fantastic. Dave and Caitlin, the owners, couldn't have been nicer. They made a big announcement to all the college kids drinking coffee to come on up, and they told them what the book is about, and everybody came up, and I signed and sold a bunch of comics.
Wonderful.
It was fantastic. We had a great interview with Zach's Comics Box. Zach from Zach's Comics Box drove up from Port St. Lucie, spring home of the New York Mets, and interviewed us, which was fantastic. And then what happened, John? Piled back in the van, John.
Of course.
Piled back in the van, and we drove to a music venue where not only do we have this fantastic Jay Lee cover, all these other fantastic covers, not only have we committed to 60 issues, not only is the first issue 120 pages and 1337, there's also a soundtrack that was composed by a band called No Bandwidth.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Damn.
And let me see if I can find it. Again, this book is not technically hit the direct market until May 30th, but let me see here.
Okay.
Right.
We're a week from Wednesday, everybody.
Yeah. So anyway, so I'll just cover it right now. But this is the album. We were handing out CDs, John,
I remember
and
those.
vinyl. See
I
that?
remember
There's a
those.
vinyl record,
Lovely.
and there's a QR code.
Yes.
Don't scan it now, but it's a
No.
free album that you can get on Spotify or Apple Music. In fact, you don't need the QR
Wow.
code. If you just put in no bandwidth, one word, the Future Is album is on there, and it's freaking spectacular. And they did it live. They
That's
melted my
incredible,
face,
Fred.
John.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, Fred, I know that having worked in rock radio for 10 years, I know that feeling. Yeah, man, that's beautiful.
It was so cool. And then at 10 o'clock at night, I had another signing, John.
Wait, is this still on Saturday, or is this now
It's
bled
still
into Sunday?
Saturday.
Holy shit, Fred.
And
Fred, I'd be dead. I don't think I could handle it, Fred. That many signings in one day like that, and those many hours. Good Lord.
well, again, very wisely, we then planned for a me day at a pool somewhere.
Okay,
Of
that's
course,
good.
my in-laws live in Florida, so no pool day for Fred. I went to SeaWorld.
Oh,
where it was John, it was 109 degrees. God bless you, Floridians. I don't get it myself. I like seasons. You know, John's from Chicago. He knows what I'm talking about.
Indeed.
But I did get to go back in time to do the Lazy River and have some Japanese steakhouse. So
there you go.
Don't cry for Fred. It's not all grueling signings and accolades. And
Was it a nice van, Fred? Was it a nice, comfortable van?
It was a very nice van.
Beautiful. All right, good deal.
Very nice van. We fit 5 people until the very end. We had 6.
Okay.
But it was good. You know, it looked like a van that 5 people have been living out of for a week by the end of it.
That's all right.
But Adam and I returned it to the Orlando airport this morning.
Fred.
Fine folks at Enterprise gave us the thumbs up, and we went on our merry way.
That's beautiful, Fred. Honestly, I'm very excited. So again, let's get into the nitty gritty of this very interesting story. The Future Is. This is cover to the second issue.
So this is spectacularly confusing, but bear with me. The covers of all the stuff I sent you were for a Kickstarter we did last year. All of the direct market material will have brand new covers. The first cover obviously is by Jay Lee. The second issue, Mike Huddleston did.
Oh, love Mike.
Cover that
love Jay for that.
The new one.
Sure.
Those other covers are done by the fantastic Ennio Buffi, who is a fantastic artist from Milan, who we recruited to work on this. He designed all the characters. He is spectacular at working in this future.
Fred, honestly, the interiors are gorgeous. They really are. This is, I mean, honestly, and no disrespect to smaller companies that obviously may not be able to get A-list artists to do their interiors and stuff. I don't know where this guy came from, but this is, and I mean, I'll show some pages from the issues and stuff.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful book, and you wrote a hell of a story. But go on.
Thank you. Yeah, so basically, this is set in the not so near future. The hacker wars are over. The Black Hats won. We deal with a ragtag team of white hat hackers, vigilantes, really, who go out and save people from technological nightmares in a world where you no longer have rights; you only have terms of service.
Yeah.
A retailer I was chatting with on another show said, I used to call this Mission Impossible meets Black Mirror, which makes a lot of sense to me. But he didn't like that comparison because he said this book has hope.
Okay.
So which I liked. So it's Black Mirror with hope. The title
True.
of the book is The Future Is asterisk, which many people have assumed meant fucked. But no, it's more hopeful than that. In fact, another aspect of this book is that in every issue there are CTF, capture the flag challenges, like I've mentioned earlier. In fact, there are different capture the flag challenges in the direct market material that were not in the Kickstarter. So I know
okay.
I know there are many retailers like for reasons I totally understand, they're a little gun shy about Kickstarter books, but we're trying to give people reasons to get into the stores, and the single issues will have CTFs that are not in the collected editions.
CTFs, capture the flags. Okay,
capture the flag, yeah, puzzles basically.
All right, because and also that's great, man. Because again, I've seen the QR codes all over all the PDFs that you sent me and everything. So that's really cool.
And for example, there might be one hidden on the very cover. We had one guy walk into Blackbird in Maitland and was like, "I hate you guys. You ruined all I've done for the last 2 weeks is try to solve these CTF puzzles." He was a guy.
Cool.
He's a guy who was a I think it was a QA guy for Electronic Arts for EA.
Wow.
Guy who hunts bugs for a living.
Yeah, that's amazing, man.
Yeah.
Did Tulsi Gabbard show up when you guys were at your first signing in Annapolis and everything?
I don't know.
Christy Nome or anybody?
It was a big crowd. There were definitely some people from the InfoSec community there.
Well, that's what I figured, and I mean, you can't miss Tulsi Gabbard. She's got the Bride of Frankenstein grease strake in her hair.
That's right. Yeah, I don't know. We may have been too far south for them. I don't know if they leave Washington that much.
That's fair. She's been busy, so I understand. Okay. By the way, Radio Dormouse says, if I were a supervillain, my name would be Dr. Dormouse. That's a very good name for you, dude. The Radio Dormouse is a good enough name for you, but I'm very impressed.
There you go.
So, yeah.
So that's it. So sorry. The point of which is that the what the asterisks stand. The most common CTF challenge is that in every issue, the 6-letter word behind the asterisks changes, and so part of your challenge is to decode the asterisks and figure out what the code name is. So each issue has a title, right, like a regular story, but it also has this secret password basically that you're challenged to figure out. And again, these folks do not do anything by half measures. They also have a leaderboard where you are competing with everyone else who's reading The Future Is. And I will point out that I am not a huge, I like crosswords. I'm not a huge puzzle guy. If you just want to read a kick-ass story, it's still there for you. You don't need to do the challenge. The challenge is
sure
sauce,
That's cool. Well, here, I'm going to show some, while we're talking, I'm going to show some art
please do.
And everything. But all right, so how did you hook up with this guy that is the artist? And give me his name again, please.
His name is Ennio Buffi. He works out of a studio out of Milan.
Okay.
With a bunch of artists, a lot of whom are doing, pardon me, but a lot of them do, believe it or not, the Disney books, like that they've got.
Oh, sure.
They do a lot of Dynamite's Disney books. I don't want people to think this obviously does not look like a Disney book. So, so a couple of their artists are working on The Future Is, and this is a story. This is actually going to be direct market issue.
It's from 4,
yes, which is we have a nice diverse group. We wanted to show that all sorts of people get into, this isn't like the cliche hacker book where everyone who's 17 years old is a super hacker. Sometimes people are the elderly. Like this is the origin of Sally Chu, who's one of our main characters, who has lived in orbit for many, many years. And when she's on Earth, she's got to wear this like exoskeleton. She's a master of like retro tech. She's like wants to build everything, all of her hardware herself. She's like, and like more gadgets start popping up her exoskeleton as it goes along. And we like to describe her as Tony Stark if he was a hobo.
Interesting.
And she's a super fun character. And she's, so she's older. And so the other thing I like about Sally, I love all the characters, but Sally might be my favorite because Sally, so we decided we don't really ever give what the year is in the book, but Sally at one point in the series mentioned she is a high schooler. She was a high schooler now.
Yeah. Okay. Because honestly, that's how I was going to describe it as, 10 years from now, essentially.
Yeah.
That kind of vibe to it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. A few decades from now, absolutely. Because
All right, and that's fine. But yeah, I mean, close enough to our time, and also, a dangerous story. Possibly a possible future, depending on how things go and who's running things and who's not running things. And I understand that, and also I appreciate the Mission Impossible pitch or suggestion for what it's like, because yeah, you've got this team of various ages that are kind of going against the powers that be and trying to start a revolution and take these people down.
and I know you will appreciate this, John, because I've been making my way through that. The original Mission Impossible show holds up.
You don't have to tell me, Fred. Although when Barney, God bless him, I got to meet Phil Morris, Greg Morris's son, Jackie Childs from Seinfeld, and was the Martian Manhunter during Smallville and all that stuff. I'm like, dude, I loved your father. I said, I can't tell you how much Mission Impossible I watched over the years, and he was laughing. But these days, watching Barney try to crack the safe, and it's like literally like they cut back to him 5 times during 20 minutes. Whereas, Alias, it was click, click, click. All right, safe is open. Let's go. Let's move on. I mean, that's the only thing. The pacing of Alias compared to Mission Impossible shows you where we are now from an attention standpoint. But I love Mission Impossible. Go ahead.
I love it because it's so plot oriented. It doesn't have that kind of it doesn't fall into that it doesn't really fall into anachronisms like sometimes they are cracking safes, but there's always some crazy scheme they're up to. And it's just super fun, and that's exactly what hackers do, and that's exactly what our characters in the future do. The mysterious Wheeler is our main character. He's sort of our Professor X meets the other big influence. You'll also appreciate this, John. On the future is, I don't know if you picked up on this, maybe not because you didn't read all the origin issues, is the Shadow, is the original pulp version of the Shadow, where the Shadow goes out and recruits all these desperate people to become his operatives, and that's exactly what Wheeler does. Yep. We do something a little unusual. The first issue shows, I think Rekka wisely wanted an issue of everybody together as a team, and that's what the first issue is. The first issue is a self-contained graphic novel as the first issue. Every subsequent issue will be more closer to regular comic size with the price of $4.04. Get it? 404. And then we go into an arc sort of showing where all these people came from, Yeah, I love the old pulp. So yeah, this is cyber pulp, which is a thing I just made up, and I'm running with it. I like it. Very excited about it, and I'm sure someone has come up with this before me, but I was never much of a punk kid. I was too straight edge. So I'm more of a cyber pulp guy than a cyberpunk guy.
I'm hip.
And he's recruited a bunch of people. Sally, we've mentioned. One of the characters is Eli, a character who can detect the vulnerability in any system, except the problem is he sees the vulnerability in all of it in his life as well. So he has constant crippling anxiety that he has to deal with. And he's various methods for taking care of that. Martina De Leon is an Olympic athlete turned sort of the meat work specialist. She's the one who physically infiltrates all these places. There's an artificial intelligence, although that term is offensive in the future. They call it machine intelligence because they find artificial intelligence offensive in the future. It's if you're woke, you don't use that term. You should call it machine intelligence, because how do you know what's artificial? Define it. I don't know.
All right. Fair enough. Radio Dormouse is already intrigued by your concept of cyber pulp.
I appreciate it, Dormouse. You are a smart Dormouse. I like it. But this MI is very he's super creative, but also has a lot of is there a theme here? He's also a lot of anxiety problems. So he's an AI with an emotional support dog, ARF. So Art is on the node on Art's collar. And he can only copy other people. Get it? Subtle social commentary there from Cyber Pulp. And so in the first issue, he brings everybody together, and they go on. They're basically trying to. There's human trafficking on a casino on the moon, basically, and they go out there to rescue everybody from the world's richest man, who has decided to take his toys and told Earth to go fuck itself, and has moved his entire operation onto the moon, which is now a pleasure palace for his rich buddies. And if you work at the pleasure palace, you are not treated as well as his buddies, as you might imagine. And they decide to go bust them out, except that it's You know, the moon is 3 days away from Earth by the fastest form of travel we have to get to the moon. And so you're that far away from any help or resupply or reinforcement. So mission impossible. Just have to read it and find out, friends.
Love it. Love it. Honestly,
And
Fred,
the soundtrack. Read it with the soundtrack.
I'm gonna have to right now. I'm gonna have to reread it with the soundtrack. That's fantastic, Fred.
Which
That's
is
seriously,
fantastic.
I love that.
And I heard them do it on Saturday, and it's the first time I heard it. So that was.
Are they like a Daft Punk? And again, what kind of band? How would you describe the band?
It's mostly synth, but it was two guitarists. The one Bo, the lead singer, composer. Well, I call it. He's the band leader. There's no lyrics, there's no singing, but his ability to shred is friggin' amazing. Just super. See it? Can I share a photo, John? Is that a thing?
Yeah. You should be able to on your own, and I'll put it up. All you got to do is
this is Bo at the concert.
Okay, looking forward to it. Stand by, everybody.
Present is the bud.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's gonna ask for where your source is.
Find another thing. Fair enough. This will take slightly longer than that.
No problem, Fred. It's all good, man. Listen, Radio Dormouse, you got to remember, buddy, you're talking to people that are also part of the hobby. He says steampunk would be redundant as League of Extraordinary Gentlemen to beat his choice. No. Steampunk is 19th century sci-fi using 19th century, like Jules Verne. Basically, that's steampunk. This is cyber pulp.
Well, but he's coined a new term, which is steam pulp.
Oh, steam pulp. I apologize. Yeah, but again, I would say the steam is suggests 19th century rather than modern. But that's
so this is Bo shredding it at the concert.
Nice
in Winter Haven, Florida.
Beautiful.
So
that's great, man. Seriously, that and a brilliant idea. I love when our friends have a music playlist to accompany their comic books and things. God, Dave Gibbons, I've been off after him forever because he was now I'm blanking. The Who, Tommy, the Scooter generation, everything, but for his book,
I know
his Vertigo book.
I know what you're talking about. The mods.
The mods, exactly. I'm like, dude, you need to put out a mod playlist for that book. And now I'm blanking on what the Vertigo book was called. But yeah, I'm like, dude, you got to do it. Come on, David. I'm like, we're all waiting for that. Because again, I'm fascinated by that The originals. Thank you, my man. You see, you're a good man. You're still a treat. Even with a brain flush, Freddie, I can still count on you.
I just type really fast, John. I had to Google it.
That's good though. I'm proud of you. I love that. I said the same thing to Segura about his P. Fernandez detective books and stuff. And I'm like, let's playlist, man. Let's go. So yeah, no, that's great. And I love that they're doing all this together and everything. So, hey, now I know Adam was a big guy that could connect publishing with comic stores and everything. Like, are you guys planning any signings here in Chicago?
We better be. I know he goes to C2E2 every year, but it was too early. We didn't have books for C2E2 this year, but next year I love C2E2, so I'd absolutely
Attaboy.
come out. Yeah, 100%.
Okay, good deal. No, that's cool. And of course, we'll always have Paris, Fred. I know we'll always talk.
I think the impetus was there's a lot of cybersecurity folks in the Southeast specifically because of the large military presence there.
Sure. No, that makes a lot of sense.
And I think Tampa B-Sides was a show they really wanted to hit.
No, that's all that makes sense, man. Absolutely. And again,
a lot of people showed up who supported the Kickstarter, both at Tampa B-Sides and at all the various stores. I sold a bazillion hardcovers. So I think the deal is the hardcovers will likely be Kickstarter only. But again, the whole point of this is to make more folks in cybersecurity regular comic store readers and customers. So there will be stuff in the single issues that you simply can't get in the Kickstarter stuff.
Again, these are Kickstarter covers, everybody, but I just want you to be aware as we talk about it.
Sally's issue is number 4, and that cover is by Jim Mahfood. Can't go wrong with Jim.
Oh, Mahfood did this Sally cover?
Yeah. Here, let me show it up.
Okay, stand by. Zooming in again. I'm going to take the cover out first. There, hold on, man. Here we go. Boom.
So there you have Jim.
Oh, excellent.
That's the Sally cover. On the right is Mike Allred. And I think that's actually the 6th issue cover, but
Wow.
But
That's great.
So I'm literally writing issue 19 tomorrow. This is how far along we're on.
I really love this commitment to, what will likely be, 10 graphic novels, something like that. I mean, my God, that's excellent, man. That's huge. There you go. And yes, I agree. But first of all, Radio Dormar says beautiful Mahfoud cover. And then he says, how does Mike Allred just keep getting better? I hear you, man.
I assume Satan, but he's got some deal with Satan.
Don't get the Mormons pissed at you, Fred.
Oh, no.
God bless Mike. He's a Mormon and everything. So,
right.
I love it. But yeah, no, that's great.
Thank God. Thank God.
Mike and Laura are great, and they're brilliant. And I've had a couple conversations with Mike. He's one of my favorites, and he's one of all of our favorites. My God, that's great that you got him to do the cover and everything. That's great. So, Fred, is it just going to be you writing all 60 of these?
Yes. Yeah.
Are there going to be other creators coming in to write other side books, or the focus is really on obviously this book and these 60 issues?
Obviously, the first issue has not come out yet. We have had some of those discussions. Yes.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
I'm the guy forbidding, getting pancaked by a dump truck for the next 5 years. And by the time the dump truck gets me, I will have written far, far ahead. Because, like I said, I'm already working on issue 19.
Well, I think you'll be around for the finish, Fred.
Yeah.
Don't even talk like that.
I'm not going anywhere. But I love it. The first comics podcast we did, the guy was like, it's such a comics question. He was like, okay, so 60 issues, great. But if they do really well, would you think about continuing the series? I'm like, dude.
Yeah, 60. Jesus. Yeah.
That's
good.
The comics podcaster question to be like, tell me what you're not doing. I don't care about, reality. Tell me about the future. What is the future of the future is,
Do they want to get into other media as well as this progresses?
Yeah.
I mean,
people, for those of you who are watching this as opposed to listening to it.
Oh, Fred's getting up for the audio audience.
I have. So this is an expansion pack. I have the original packs here somewhere. I don't know what I did with them, but this is Backdoors and Breaches. This is the
the card game.
Card game. And so
yes. All right. Yes. Tell me about this. Very good.
So you basically play. And I got this at B-side, so I actually haven't opened it up yet. So there's the one side.
Okay.
So the kids love the unveiling, right? The unboxing.
The unboxing, yes, is very exciting. It's rare on Word Balloon that we unbox.
I know we're uncellophaning. And so each one of these has a different incident that you as a white hat infosec professional might have to deal with. Like someone attacked your HVAC system. Is it getting hot in here? This is an attack card. And then there's also defense cards, which is like call a consultant, which are ways that you, if you're on the defense, have of dealing with that problem. So I bring these up only because they actually started in other media than comics, and there will soon be a special expansion deck that's just the Futurist characters. So we're already an album, a comic. We're going to be a card game. Soon we'll be both a floor wax and a dessert topping. We're just expanding into all
new
manner
shimmer. Sure. SNL reference, kids, from the original cast. But keep going.
I mean, this is, as you can tell, this is just a trip.
That's great, Fred. Seriously, I'm so glad to tag you for this, Fred. I'm did you ask him like why me, or just go yes, please?
To do another Dan Aykroyd reference, John. I've seen Ghostbusters. They ask you if you're a god. Say yes.
Say yes. Well, Fred, exactly, man. No. Fred, literally. Go ahead.
I mean, I started out doing a crime book called The Silencers for a small outfit outside Chicago called
Moonstone.
That sort of what
Yeah.
put me on the map and got
Yes,
me
sir.
involved with Marvel. I love research. And I've done a ton of research for this book. They gave me great books. As you saw, John, from the book, the main sort of difference between the future is setting in our world is the proliferation of something called AR, or augmented reality.
Yes, indeed.
If you ever played Pokemon Go, you've experienced augmented reality where some sort of fictional sheen is digitally overlaid over actual life, except we've gotten rid of, in our future, with the intermediary of the cell phone, we just have implants in our brain, so the internet is actually beamed right onto our eyeballs.
Yes.
And
also avatars are used as well to communicate in this story.
Yeah, we call them sprites. Yeah. And so each character, kind of like the Daemons from Golden Compass from that series, if you know that one is Dark Materials, have little sprites. Like my favorite is Eli is obsessed with this this kids cartoon he liked when he was a kid. So one of the characters in the kids cartoon, Tuffy, is like his avatar that taught that you use these avatars to interact with the internet. And it's questionable as how much autonomy these avatars are distinct from you, but that's something we'll be getting into in later issues.
Very cool. Very, very cool, Fred. Mentioning Marvel, I have to ask, have you seen Thunderbolts yet?
I have. Marvel has started inviting me to the screenings. So I've seen, I think they started Deadpool and Wolverine because I, as the co-creator of Headpool, was in the credits of Deadpool and Wolverine. But then they've just invited me to everyone since. So yeah, I've seen all of them since then. Since Deadpool. Yes, I
was wondering because you wrote a version of Taskmaster, right?
I did. Well, I wrote the version of Taskmaster.
Yeah, and forgive me, folks who've seen the movie. Yeah. I'm calling him the real version of Taskmaster because I was like, hey, look, it's Taskmaster. Oh, it's a woman. Oh, that's okay. And then, oh, well, she's only in the first act. Okay, fair enough. Moving on.
Well, trust me, it's not being a woman is what I had a problem with.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was. Well, it kind of reminded me of James Gunn's Suicide Squad movie, where you had like 20 characters to start, and then a bunch of them got knocked off at the beginning of the movie and everything. It's like, all right.
I feel sorry for that actress, but I definitely think that was Marvel requesting a do-over.
Oh, that's it. Because I assumed it was just kind of, hey, all bets are off. We don't know who else is going to survive this mission and everything, or just in general.
I'm sure there was some of that
story,
but the reaction to Black Widow, I think that was the thing that most people were not thrilled by. The
reaction for
Taskmaster was a bad guy, bad girl, or whatever in Black Widow, in the Black Widow movie.
Shame. Boy, Fred, I'll tell you, I didn't see it.
First appearance.
I didn't realize, and I didn't see it, and that's very interesting, and I can appreciate that.
Well, and that's where the Florence Pugh character came from originally, and
that I knew, and I also saw. Yeah, I knew that, and of course, Red Guardian as well, David Harbour, and I also loved what Florence did in the Hawkeye miniseries as well, Kate Bishop, which cracked me up. Yeah, she was. No, she's great.
She is.
He is. I mean, truly. I mean, I loved her in. I saw the WWE movie she made, Fighting with My Family, that Stephen Merchant wrote, and she's great in that. And then also, of course, Oppenheimer. So yeah, no, I'm a Pugh fan. Pugh.
She's really good in the Greta Gerwig version of Little Women too.
There you go. I haven't seen it. Is she Joe? Is she the spunky little woman in Little Women?
She's the next oldest sister. She's the one who wants to be an artist.
Oh, okay.
Joe is played by Ronan. I can't pronounce her first name.
All right.
So the woman from Lady Bird.
Oh, sure. Well, that makes sense. Of Greta Gerwig, of course. There you go.
Yeah.
That's cool. Psyched for Superman?
I saw the trailer recently. I'm not the world's biggest Superman guy, but this looks, promising. I want that universe, that cinematic universe, to do well. I loved the Suicide Squad. I really liked Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, 2, and 3, not so much.
Okay.
I loved Super, the parody he did with Rainn Wilson.
Rainn Wilson and Elliot Page when he was still Ellen Page. Sure.
Yeah. And but I did not like that Creature Commandos thing at all. So
really, oh, interesting, Fred. I loved it.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
yeah,
Tell
no,
me
I
what
don't
you
like
didn't like, Fred. Tell me what you didn't like about it.
You
No
know,
judgment. You know that.
so I disliked it so much I purged much of it from my memory. So I don't know how intelligent I can sound given my review, given the distance and time. But I generally did not find the character. It's one thing to have unlikable characters. I think that what I think it is, and this is an insight that I sort of had about halfway through the series. I think Gunn's writing needs to be humanized by actual humans. I don't know that he's the best person to write for animation with the sort of the harshness. So he's got this weird combination of harshness and just kind of killing characters off for the sake of killing characters off, and kind
True.
of lowest common. A lot of that series is just lowest common denominator in a lot of the storylines. So, and I thought the mission they were on was ridiculous. Like, there's just nothing about that show I liked, from soup to nuts.
That's fair. No, that's all right.
The bit with GI Robot was probably the best episode for me.
Love GI Robot. I got to be honest, my favorite character of the thing. Yeah.
But
sounds like something a Nazi would say.
He did not stick around that long in the series.
Well,
Obviously.
but I have hope that should they bring it back in any way, that it's a robot, and that let's build him a new body and everything, and GI Robot would be back. That's my hope. But
Gunn seems like a smart guy, and I am assuming he's not going to do a Creature Commandos tone thing for Superman.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I agree with that.
To do that, and I think that there's some good signs of that in the trailer, but there were also some stuff in the trailer that makes me go, maybe not. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. No. I understand. I just love and I'm not saying you're like this at all, but I do love the haters that are just like, well, when it tanks, blah blah, and it's like, man, I don't know, man. I'm watching a different trailer than these, and also Superman doesn't have robots. He doesn't. Why is? And it's like,
I do have a friend who's like that, who's I game with, and he is like, I'm always amused when I meet the people who like treat this sort of fandom like sports. So it's like, I must be on the Marvel team, therefore the DC team must lose. I've never really understood that. That's probably because I started out as a Marvel kid. I was a Marvel exclusive writer. I've written a ton of Marvel books, but I would say my top 5, top 4 favorite superhero comics are DC, that I would still keep reading now,
What do you mind giving us your top characters from DC?
Well, I don't go in terms of characters. I go in terms of runs.
Okay, so what runs? Sure.
Well, the big one would be Dennis Cohen and Denny O'Neil's Question.
Big
fan.
A
lot of them are for the 80s because I was an 80s kid,
I'm happy. No.
As Gaiman said, the golden age of comics is 12.
True.
Moving beyond that, the Grant Morrison,
Arkham Asylum, perhaps.
I was like
Doom Patrol?
teenager. Yeah, Doom Patrol. The Richard Case and Grant Morrison Doom Patrol.
Sure.
Mostly anything by Morrison, frankly. Seven Soldiers I come back to all the time.
That's awesome.
The Alan Moore Swamp Thing is,
of course,
fantastic.
Come on. Yeah.
I'm rereading. I do this comic book deathmatch column over on 13th Dimension where I pit two series against the other. So I've read the first 50 issues of Marvel Team Up. The less said about, the better. But then
the original Bronze Age Marvel Team Up.
Yeah.
Go on.
Human Torch Occasion that's a bad comic. That's not. They never figured. That took them a long. It wasn't until Claremont and Byrne showed up that anybody figured out what to do with that book.
Okay, because I always think of it as the Spider-Man. Am I wrong? Isn't this the Spider-Man and guest star thing in the 70s?
Well, in the first 3 years, Human Torch would be the main guest star. So it was the 2 teen heroes, right?
Oh, that makes sense. I forgot about that. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And but it just doesn't. They tried, but just. Well, but then on the other hand,
I was more of a Marvel 2-in-1 guy. The Things Team Up book.
That'll be next. So
good.
So then I also read that the concurrent 50 issues of Brave and the Bold, and man, I'm just admire Bob Haney so much because those stories make no goddamn sense. Like I literally feel like I'm on drugs while I'm reading some of these things.
I understand. I totally understand, dude. Also, when Aparo was drawing it, and especially when
Joe Aparo also is I would say, to me, he's my favorite Batman artist of all time, like hands down. He's one of my top 5 favorite comic artists of all time.
Sure.
But the best thing about, sorry, Frank Miller, sorry, Scott Snyder, the best Batman is Bob Haney's Batman. And solely for the reason, he just tools around town in that he never takes off the Batman costume. It's hilarious. The last one I just read it's this bonkers story about there's an elite. So Wildcat, also the guest stars in Brave.
That's what I was gonna say, man. When
so
Wildcat was the regular guest star, even though it was Earth 1 happening there, but again, they didn't. Haney didn't give a fuck. It was Earth B. Go ahead.
So I went through the most popular guest stars beyond the obvious ones, like Green Arrow is in there a lot. So, weirdly, Sergeant Rock. That his book must have been big in the 70s because he
absolutely.
He makes a yearly appearance in Brave and the Bold, decrepit. And one issue they fight the devil. It's insane. So and then what was the other bizarre? Oh, the Metal Men. The Metal Men are in every other. It's like
the Metal Men. I love the
where
Metal Men.
Where are they finding these characters? It's never Superman. It's fuck Superman. We don't know anything about him. He has his own team up book. Nobody cares. So my favorite. And so my favorite thing is that Wildcat has set up. Oh my god, absolutely! I'll take place in Earth Haney. So Wildcat has set up an island in the Bermuda Triangle, which they call the Devil's Quadrangle for some reason. It's a fat camp for rich old guys.
I remember this story. Keep going.
You're supposed to lose weight through boxing.
Yes.
But bad guys are using it to illegally smuggle alien people from Mexico into Gotham City. And so Batman flies there to check it out and investigate the mystery because Batman is apparently not just slight sidebar. What I realize, I know it's like it's like the intelligentsia likes to say, oh, Batman's crazy. Like, who would put on a bat costume and beat people up? He's clearly got some severe trauma. That's it. So reading the Brave and the Bold, no. Batman's not crazy. Commissioner Gordon is crazy because he lets this fucking guy hang around. He has total carte blanche to do whatever he wants.
That's true.
It's like someone saw the Adam West TV show. It's like, let's do this seriously. Like, let's just have this guy just be like everywhere. But because the best thing, John, about that issue, other than the bananas premise, other than Wildcat has to take off his cat costume, other than the fact that Wildcat is like the most frequently appearing character in Bob Haney's run, that he takes off his cat mask and puts on a fake mustache. Also, Jim Aparo draws everybody so they look like Bruce Wayne, and so it's very hard to tell Wildcat without his costume without
pretty much,
which is frankly why I'm
grateful temples.
The Batman
great temples for Ted.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how you know it's Ted and not Bruce. But
that's going. Why I'm very happy that Batman never takes off his Batman costume because I have no fucking idea who he is. So other than the fact that Wildcat pretends to be one of the illegal aliens. The other great thing I love, I'm just gonna keep going on tangents. The other great thing I love from that whole run for when Jim Farrow was drawing it is how Batman can wear a disguise of anyone. Like he can be disguised as Marilyn Monroe, and in one panel, Aparo just shows him grabbing the wig and just ripping it off, and just the Batman ears. Like he's wearing the Batman costume under the Marilyn Monroe. Like Marilyn Monroe could be in a bikini. No, and he pulls off the whole outfit. It is what I love is just I just imagine that. I just imagine the bat ears because the bat ears are going to be flattened up against his skull, right? And they're spring right
they pop up. Yeah, exactly. There's a spring action to the bat ears. I understand.
That's the magic of comics, John. It's the magic of comic storytelling. I'm just filling that detail in.
Fred, truly, Wildcat became one of my absolute favorite heroes because of that run. Because I was 8 years old reading that shit and going, yeah, all right.
So again, I still haven't told you my favorite part of that Wildcat issue. Other than the fact that Wildcat looks just like Bruce Wayne, except his hair is colored slightly differently. He gets stranded on the island he owns. I just want to make this very clear, but he somehow infiltrates the Coyotes group of illegal aliens trying to get in the U.S. by just putting on a mustache, and he can't speak Spanish, so he just starts talking in a Mexican accent. It's fucking crazy, but it's still not the best part of the issue. The best part of the issue is Batman has to fly to Wildcat's health camp for aging rich people. And when I say that, you and everyone else in the podcast goes, yeah, he gets in his bat jet and flies that. No, that's not what he does. This is a Bob Haney comic. Batman flies commercial. He's sitting in coach in the Batman costume.
Of course he is.
Talking to other people. And the best part is that everyone else on the plane just acts like, oh, it's Batman.
Sure.
How do you know it's Batman? He's wearing the Batman costume. What are you, blind?
Absolutely. Stewardess, is there a movie on this flight?
And I just flew in today. Can you imagine? Please put your belt. Please put your utility belt.
TSA. The utility belt goes through TSA. Yeah, I'm sure.
In the thing, Again,
well, back then they didn't have that problem. Yeah. Oh, it's Batman. All right, let him in.
Batman, you are seated in the exit row. Are you prepared in the event of vengeance? I will avenge this water landing by any means possible. I mean, it's beautiful. I don't think I can talk. It's too crazy to even talk about my column because no one will believe me. Like I just sound like a ranting lunatic.
You got to send me the issue number that is, because I seriously, when you said island for the rich fat people, I'm like, I remember reading that. I absolutely remember reading that. That's fantastic, man. So yeah, yes, James is right. James Bunn says, this is pre 9/11. Think times were different back then. Absolutely. He also says, what else do you say here, James? What character that hasn't had a team up like Batman and whose ever version of Brave and Bold should get one? Oh, I don't know.
Squirrel Girl.
Sure, of course. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I kind of think it lends itself to a younger, the way they were doing Spider-Man and Human Torch, and that it continued with Spider-Man.
Part of the problem was that they had this rule that Spider-Man couldn't join any of the superhero teams, right? So it was actually kind of unique when, Brother Voodoo or Thor or whoever it is showed up.
Well, and they also would introduce new characters potentially to see if there was interest. At least that was my assumption. I've never asked Steve Grant. Okay, there you go. Because I was going to say, I know Steve Grant wrote a lot of those back in the day.
Well, I've only made it to issue 50. It's about to start getting good because before Claremont and Byrne did X-Men, they did Marvel Team Up. And that was sort of the beginning of their partnership. So some interesting things are coming down the pipe. Bill Mantlo and Sal Buscema, I assume they were doing Hulk at the same time, did a whole bunch of issues. They tried to do continuing storylines. So they did crazy stuff like there's a guy from the Salem witch trial. So he kidnaps Scarlet Witch. And so they do what all the Marvel superheroes did, which is let's go to Dr. Doom's castle and get on his,
the time portal, the time
portal, and go back and try and stop. And the Vision somehow goes back to save his wife. Then Dr. Doom shows up in the next issue. Now we're like 4 issues in, being like, why do these assholes keep using my time portal? And I can't blame him for being mad. And then Moondragon, who's on the Avengers time, shows up.
Moondragon, nice.
And it's really like
in the words of Andrew Dice Clay.
They're fighting this giant mohawked. There's a very famous cover of Dr. Doom or Vision and Spider-Man trying to save Dr. Doom while Moondragon's fighting. It's this crazy Gil Kane cover.
Wow.
Best thing about it is
Unlimited. I'm going to have to read this. Go on.
Really, the only good thing about it is the Gil Kane covers are all badass.
I respect that. Hilarious.
But yeah, so kids, look for that next month over at 13th Dimension.
13th Dimension, everybody. Comic book deathmatch. Is that what you call it?
Yeah, that's the name of my column. And if you click on the sidebar, you can read all the old columns. So I do things like last year, I pitted 1 month Dan Greenfield, the great guy who runs the site, talked me into doing a monthly column where I pitted Secret Wars, the first Secret Wars against Crisis on Earth. So that was really fun.
Oh,
but I pitted like Man Thing versus Swamp Thing and
sure
X-Men versus Doom Patrol. Like so I've done some fairly, standard ones. I pitted.
How about the Invaders versus the Justice Society? Would you ever do that?
Which one?
The Invaders versus the Justice Society.
That could be fun. The problem is they do it chronologically based on the pub date over on our good friends at Mike's Amazing World of Comics. They have this great newsstand feature where you can see what was on the newsstands. They're still doing it, actually, for a given month and year. So the challenge would be, was the Invaders ever published at the same time? That's a really good idea, though.
It's close, though. Was
Invaders ever published at the same time as the Justice Society?
I kind of think when they rebranded All-Star Comics and brought it back in the 70s, and then also that series went into Adventure Comics when they stopped doing All-Star Comics.
I will take a look.
The Batman, the Death of the Earth 2 Batman, was still part of that JSA run and everything.
All right, okay. I loved that Invaders book when I was a kid. I loved Frank Robbins.
I'll go back to it. I can't tell you how many times, and with the few times I've had Roy Thomas on the show, I always give it up to him for that book. And Frank Robbins, that weird Frank Robbins art, those weird eyes that he would draw.
Well, I love. My favorite was him on the Shadow book. The Shadow's coming back. I love the Shadow. So that he was. Everyone thinks of Mike Kaluta, and he was fantastic, of course. But I love when Frank Robbins did it afterwards.
I'm so with you, and also everyone. If you really want to see Frank Robbins at his best, the comic strip Johnny Hazard, which is kind of a poor man's Steve Canyon in a sort of way, but Frank Robbins was a genius. And me and Bradstreet would talk about him, Tim Bradstreet, and I'm like, it's ugly as hell, and yet I cannot look away. I love something keeps pulling back. And he was a wonderful writer of a lot of Batman stuff, a lot of Batgirl and Robin solo stuff in the 70s. So yeah. Freddie, I'll let you go because I know you want to eat dinner.
Yep, I just flew in today to do John's show. Otherwise, I would have stayed by the pool. But no, when John calls, when Word Balloon calls, when the League of Word Balloon listeners calls, I just forgot I was not able to bring trivia. Next time we'll do trivia.
That's all right, man. No. It was all about Freddie's new book, The Future Is.
That's right. And look for it at discerning comic book shops.
Yes, I'm sorry. Here, let me take down the actual cover. You will be looking for it a week from Wednesday, everybody.
For Jaylee, it will not have my smudgy signature on it, though. Sorry.
No worries, Fred. No, Fred.
Go to Blackbird Comics and Coffee, Neighborhood Comics in Savannah, Ultimate Comics in Cary, North Carolina, or Third Eye in Annapolis. They will, in fact, have signed copies.
Fair enough. And the name again of the publisher.
Recca. It's hacker spelled backwards.
Recca Comics, everybody. Yes, indeed. Ambitious project, 60 issues committed.
Yep.
And Fred is already writing issue 19, as he said earlier in this conversation.
Yep, May 30th.
Very excited, Fred. Well done. And it's a great series. Fred was kind enough to send me several of the issues, and I can attest to how great it is and everything. It's a hell of a book, and it's beautifully drawn, and it's deserving of your attention, especially if you are a sci-fi fan, a cyber fan, and a spy, or I guess secret kind of shit going down sort of fan.
Cyber pulp. We're gonna make that a thing.
Fair enough. So no, great conversation, Fred. Thank you as always. My best to Crystal.
Absolutely. Right back at you, John. It's always awesome.
Thank you, everybody. Hey, tomorrow a double feature. Well, actually, I should say I'm recording with Dan Slott. We're going to present that on Wednesday morning. But tomorrow afternoon, we tried to talk to Al Ewing at the end of the week last week, and we had technical difficulties, and shit just went down. We couldn't figure it out. The good news is Al is coming back tomorrow afternoon at a much more reasonable time for him. Poor guy, he's in the UK, and we were doing this starting at midnight his time. I'm like, Al, we could talk earlier in the day. So we're going to do it at 3:00 Eastern time tomorrow afternoon, which is 8:00. If I do the math right, or 9:00. No, it is 8:00 UK time. So that's happening tomorrow, Word Balloon Live. And then I'm trying to think if I've got anything set for Wednesday, because I know no, I don't. But Thursday, I'm gonna release the audio and the video of Dan on Wednesday, just in time for Dan's run on Superman. Thursday, my dear friend Gabe Hardman, my dear friend Jeff Parker, and I will be discussing the Western films, both screenwriting and directing, of Burt Kennedy on a very special Scene Missing. It's been a while since we've done a Scene Missing. And Gabe and I have just been raving about Burt Kennedy Westerns. Brilliant screenwriter, Kind of a 500 batting director. Great movies like John Wayne movies like The War Wagon with Kirk Douglas, and other my favorite Western comedies. Support Your Local Gunfighter, Support Your Local Sheriff with James Garner, and also another great one called The Good Guys and the Bad Guys with Robert Mitchum and George Kennedy. These are all worth looking up, kids, and you can find a lot of these movies on Pluto and Tubi and YouTube as well. And we're going to discuss a lot of the ones. And that's what we like to do with Scene Missing, is not only tell you about obscure movies, but also especially if you can find them easily without digging into the wallet and everything. So that's why we're talking about Burt Kennedy. Lots of great stuff. And truly, Pluto and Tubi have a lot of Burt Kennedy movies out there. And so does YouTube. So we'll be discussing it. And also, very interesting life, Burt Kennedy, that ended sadly. Again, we'll get into it when we talk on Scene Missing. So all that's coming up this week on Word Balloon. I've already got some ideas for next week. It's going to be a great way to close out May. I hope you'll be on the ride as you always are. Thank you, League of Word Balloon listeners. Thank you, everybody that watched and listened. Until next time, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.